Well, it's me. And it's raining. Because all us old men, we have to go and do our morning walks like old men. And drinking some dark colored bath water. And this is really, really bad too. Anyway, we're going to talk about some of the craziest things I've seen in the National Guard part. What is it, 7 or 8? I have to take a look. 7 or 8. And this place is busy. You can always hear the ambulances and police cars in the background because this is a community thing. We are going to talk about the famous, let's see if you can see it, choose death. And what that means in the National Guard. Well, at least how we saw it in the National Guard. And back to my muddy water. I'm going to start this walk. Wow, they destroyed that tree. Look at that. These guys killed them. Just killed it. Anyway, this was the National Guard stuff. This is National Guard now, guys, okay? In the sandbox. We're going to talk about the sandbox again. Jeff, you're always talking about the sandbox. Well, we're going to talk about the sandbox. When I rolled in 07, we're National Guard. We're not the regular Army guys that do regular Army stuff 5 days a week, get the weekends off to drink their beer and all this other stuff on all the Army bases, you know, Fort Bliss, Benning, you know, Stewart, you know, everywhere, right? It's not our job. National Guard is weekend warrior stuff, got regular 9-to-5s jobs. Some of them are cops, some of them are construction workers, other people, you know, work in offices. And a lot of these guys got families and fucking mortgages. So these guys, a lot of these guys are not going to risk their lives for no goddamn reason. They're not going to just simply do it. Unless they're ordered to do so, they will not volunteer. And that's just the cold-blooded truth. So, I was a big wrestling fan back in the early days, 90s, 2000s. I used to watch death matches and hardcore matches, and there was this guy they called the Necro Butcher. And he was also ex-National Guard, 20th Special Forces too. I don't know what he did, but he was in for a while. And he used to have this Choose Death t-shirt. So, when we all got together out in Kuwait, they're like, okay, we're going to be doing convoy missions. We all know how pretty hardcore convoy missions are, especially going into the sandbox. So it's usually a life or death situation. So this guy, this convoy commander guy, he was an E6, and there was a whole bunch of us, big, you know, and I was in a headquarters company at the time. He says, all right, everybody, we got a mission going all the way up to Talil Air Base. I said, oh, okay. And y'all know that it's going to be about 400-mile drive, and going to be chances of IEDs and all that other bullshit. I mean, you can't candy coat that kind of shit. We all knew it. So, yeah, are we going to do, I need volunteers, or you can stay back. I need enough volunteers. Life or death? Because, you know, this is the way this guy's talk. Life, that means when you say life, that means you're going to be staying back in Camp Virginia in Kuwait. No danger, no problem. Or death. Good chance you're going to get blown the fuck up. Or rollover accident or whatever happens. And I yelled out, I choose death. Okay. Some of the other guys says, yeah, I choose death. And that's how I started doing that stupid shit. So I chalked on the side of my Humvee, "Choose Death." Skull, crossbones, put a bandana on the skull. But, like I said, the craziest things that only 5 of us volunteered. Everybody else said, no way. I said, man, that's not enough people. That fills one vehicle, and then you have a driver and a TC for another. We got to get 4 vehicles. Nope, nobody doesn't want to volunteer. So I was like, well, I mean, I get it. I said, a lot of you chicken shits, I get it. A lot of you chicken shits don't want to go because you got families. Everybody has a family. Even the regular Army guys and the Marines, they got families. You know, they got a job to do. You know, I said, a lot of you assholes could have on purposely failed your SRB and your SRP back at stateside, and you don't get picked for this mission. The only reason why you did is because you're getting regular Army pay, you're getting hostile fire, imminent danger, combat zone exemption, and you got a chance to walk home with a bunch of pretty medals, and you get to make up all the fucking war stories you want to. I said, it's bullshit. So they had to go around to some of the other companies to find volunteers to go. Now, I'm not saying that the National Guard is a bunch of chicken shits, but our battalion had a lot of chicken shits, a lot of ass kissers, a lot of friggin' medal chaser, you know, awards chasers and medals. We had a lot of those guys, but they wanted to do it safely. So I would just stand up on my vehicle and yell out, "Choose death, choose death." And they're like, they said, "No, you're stupid, dude." So, like I said, the craziest thing about National Guard is when the battalion commander had to order saying, "Who's going out?" Headquarters company's going out, sir. Well, fine. He gets the company commander of a headquarters company, my company. This guy is real fucking asswipe too. Real dipshit. He goes up. Instead of going to all those lazy clerk typist fucking clowns that we got that are just doing nothing. That's all they do is PT all day. They go into their air-conditioned office that the Seabees built, and they just type away on computers and play computer games. I should know. I caught them. So instead of going to those fucking jack-offs, they went right over to the mechanics. And they said, you, and you. You're going on a convoy mission to Talil. What? You're going on a fucking convoy mission. I want to stay back, sir. Tough shit. Get your fucking gear, get your body armor, get your weapon. I gotta work on this Humvee. Who gives a flying fuck? Get your shit and fucking get out to the marshalling yard. That's basically what he did. And these guys, that's all they did was fucking complaining. I said, all right, tell you what, man. I said, you know what? And they went over to my vehicle. And we had a E5 that was my driver. We had the E5 that was a TC. And I was an E5 gunner. You know, it's just... And that's all these guys did. Until, you know, they finally got out the door and we drove up to, you know, picked up our whites and took the whites. One guy says he doesn't want to get blown up. And I says, well, you know, if you do your job, you'll be fine. You know, if you get hit, we're right here. Don't worry about it. But I don't want to do it. I mean, I got a few of those guys. I'm like, God damn, dude. I said, you guys are not going to be surrender monkeys, are you? If something went down, I don't want to do this. That's all he did was bitch. He just bitched and cried. Because, you know, we had this contingent of our unit that stationed out at Camp Cedar. And they work on Humvees and vehicles up there. But they didn't do patrols because we didn't have any scouts up there or any of our infantry guys. But it's just weird. I mean, that's why I on this video I say it's the craziest thing, because I never seen a bunch of fucking whiners in my life. I said, guys, we got to do our shit. And, I said, well, we got another stuff. It's just plain piss water. Terrible coffee. And I said, it's our time to get out. I mean, you couldn't reason with these fucking clowns. I mean, we had to force them to drive. They were driving. They were up in the turret. They had to, and they just couldn't get into the mission. These guys are just really, really bad. They just could not get into the mission at all. And it's not like that we're storming the beaches of Normandy, for Christ's sakes. We had a job to do. And that's why this is amongst the craziest things I've ever seen. I mean, these guys were just morale breakers. I mean, just horrible examples of laziness. They tried to get away with it. And we had a number of guys in our unit, and that's all they did. Here, let's put it in here. That's all they did is to avoid the deployment. To avoid going anywhere. So they stayed in Kuwait, and they did everything in their power to stay in Kuwait. Me, I didn't want to be back at battalion at all. I'm like, nah, way, get me away from here. Because there was just way too many higher ranked NCOs and too many officers. I said, no way, I'm out of here. And the force sustainment was just down the road from us, and you always see officers. Captains, lieutenant colonels, majors. You just saw way too much brass. And I said, no way. I said, I got to get out of here. So that's why I volunteered. I choose death on every mission possible to get out of Kuwait. And this is one of the craziest things I've ever seen in the National Guard. Is utter, just morale breaking. You just wanted to get away from these people. And it was like that through the entire deployment while I was there. And there was some guys that actually enjoyed going up north, but you got to find those guys. So, the craziest stuff I saw in the National Guard. The morale breakers. And they got away with it. A lot of them got away with it. They got to do a 12 to 13 month deployment. Some of those guys even jumped on with the next National Guard unit that came in that was not going north at all. They took the mission away. And that's all these guys did, is just sit in Camp Virginia and do guard duty. That's all they did. And they were collecting that big paycheck, tax-free. And it was just two clowns that I knew. And they did 28 months back to back. They went with our unit and then jumped on another National Guard unit that came in to relieve us, right seat, left seat. And then they stayed on for another couple months when they extended them, and then they finally came home. And those guys made bank, of course. They were E4s, but you know, that's a lot of friggin' money. And they didn't do nothing. I mean, one of them even bragged that he didn't do shit. He just stood in a little toll booth or whatever by a gate. And that's all he did for his entire deployment. 8 hours a day. This is Jeff on this video on what?